The story of Saint Bridget of Sweden, messenger of Christ and mother of mystics long ago, in the year 1303, in the serene countryside of Uppland, Sweden, a noble family welcomed a baby girl into the world. Her name was Bridget, and her birth would mark the beginning of a remarkable life dedicated to God, even as a child. Bridget showed signs of deep holiness. Though young, Bridget embraced her married life with grace. She and Ulf had 8 children, including Catherine, who would later become a saint herself. When she was only 7 years old, she had a vision of Jesus hanging on the cross. She spoke boldly to kings, popes, and priests, urging them to reform their lives, serve the poor, and lead with justice and humility. This unique community welcomed both monks and nuns in separate quarters under the leadership of an abbess, and focused on contemplation, liturgical prayer, and service. Her body was brought back to Sweden and buried at Vadstena, the site of the first Brigittine monastery. She traveled all the way to Rome, where she spent the last 20 years of her life advocating for peace and unity within the church. With tears in her eyes, she asked him, "Who has done this to you?" Jesus replied, "They who despise me and forget my love." Centuries later, St. John Paul II named her one of the patron saints of Europe, recognizing her role as a bridge of holiness between nations and a voice of conscience in troubled times. That moment etched a sacred fire in her heart, and she vowed to never forget him. And mystic can change the world through courage, compassion, and communion with Christ. Despite her desire for a life devoted to God, Bridget obeyed her parents and entered into marriage at the age of 13 with a nobleman named Ulf Gudmarsson. Bridget and Ulf's marriage was marked by prayer, charity, and acts of mercy. Together, they went on pilgrimages and helped the poor. She withdrew from public life and began to receive mystical visions, revelations from Christ himself. These messages were filled with wisdom, warnings, and guidance for the church and rulers of her time. Bridget faithfully wrote down these heavenly messages, which would later be compiled into a work called The Revelations of Saint Bridget. When Ulf fell seriously ill during a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela in Spain, Bridget prayed fervently. Ulf was miraculously healed, and not long after, he and Bridget decided to live in celibacy and devote their lives completely to God. After Ulf's peaceful death, Bridget's life took a new path. Bridget did not keep silent. While in Rome, she also worked tirelessly to establish the religious order she had seen in her visions, the Order of the Most Holy Savior, later known as the Brigittines. Bridget died in Rome in 1373, after a life of prophetic witness and unwavering faith. In 1391, the Church declared her a saint. Saint Bridget of Sweden remains a shining example of how a woman, noble, wife, mother, widow, feast day, July 23rd, patron of Europe, Sweden, widows, and those suffering from illness or hardship,